Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart, and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video this week. This week we're going to talk about a bunch of manga and a comic book written by an Italian comic book artist about his time making manga in Japan. It's a really cool one. I can't wait to talk about it. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Genshin Diaries. Yes, we have another Genshin Diaries this week. And it has to do with the new character that you can win on the banners. And I happen to get him, and his name is Kaveh. So we're going to talk about Kaveh a little bit. Okay, so let's get started. So before I talk about Helk, which will be the first manga on the list I'm going to do a little review of, these three manga that I'm reviewing came from the Manga Spice Cafe made box thing that I got as a present for Christmas. So each box came with assortment of Japanese and other Asian snacks and candies and drinks, and came also, more importantly, with three different manga, and they're all volume 1, so you're starting at the beginning. And yeah, that's the box. So this is the last box. I finished these, and now I'm giving the review. And so that's basically where they're coming from. And so let's go ahead and start talking about Helk. All right. So as you can tell, this is kind of fantasy. I'm not sure if that's a chickadee down there in the bottom, or a slime, or a chicken slime, or a something. No idea. Anyway, it's definitely set in a fantasy world. And the plot is basically, quite simply, the humans and demons are always warring against each other, but it's not really that big of a deal because the humans aren't really that powerful enough to really do anything to the demons. So it's more like a things that the demons are tolerating. Except every few generations, a hero is born, and that is Helk. And Helk kills the demon emperor. So they enter into this contest. The demons enter into this contest to see who will be the next emperor, demon emperor, overlord of all the demons. And Helk joins in. Yes, he becomes part of the contest to win the title of demon emperor. So, but he's human, and he makes a declaration of going, "I hate humans. I wish they were all dead." And this at first confuses everyone, but then he starts competing, and he's like overpowered, like OP to the max. He's super strong. He can cook. He can do all these things, and he wins contest after contest after contest. This is not Helk. This is one of the higher demoness lords. She's kind of like a princess, and she's overseeing the contest. And she keeps trying to throw wrenches into the contest, and Helk will lose, so there won't be a human as an emperor overlord. And she keeps failing. And so finally she's at the point now where she goes into disguise, and she's joining the demons on their last part, I guess, of their journey to become the emperor of the demons. And she's trying to figure out a way to stop Helk. Like I said, Helk has a demon following. People like him. Even his fellow contestants are like, "Hey, good for you, Helk." And she's just like totally just like, what's going on? And there's obviously something going on with Helk. There's something a little bit sinister like, but we don't know just yet. So anyway, that's the end of volume 1 of Helk. This is fantasy shonen. It is what you get out of it. It's not deep, it's not meaningful in terms of, like, you're not going to get a Takahara kind of, the crushing souls of mankind trying to deal with adversity. No, this is just shonen. This is just a shonen thing. It is written and drawn by Nanaki Nano, who has done other things for magazines. This originally came out on, I think, Media One. Let me check my notes here. On Manga One in May 2014, and also on the Ura Sunday website. So initially, this was a web manga. Now it's got its own paper, and apparently it's going to be an anime in July of this year, July 2023. So that might be interesting to watch. But again, this is very shonen in a fantasy shonen world. So, Helk. Okay, the next one on the hit list is Ayashimon. Okay, so this one is written by Yuji Kaku, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because he also did Hell's Paradise. This manga is very short. It's all very short-lived. It's got 3 volumes. I think that's it. There is no anime adaptation of this just yet. Although I think it could. I think it really, honestly could, and it actually might do well as an OVA. I'm not sure, but it's interesting. So, Ayashimon are a type of yokai, and these are yokai that can shapeshift into human beings. So they can go from a demon form, a demon animal form, whatever it may be, into a human being. And the Ayashimon run the Yakuza out of Shinjuku. And so the plot of the story is that the godfather, so to speak, of the Yakuza in Shinjuku passed away under mysterious circumstances, probably murdered. And all the factions splintered because there was nobody, single person strong enough to hold it all together, whether they be human or one of the Ashimon. So the girl that we see here, up there, with the little horned hairs kind of thing going on, she is actually the daughter of the deceased Yakuza boss. And she is actually an Oni, and she can shapeshift, and she's kind of powerful. So what's the deal? So at the time of her father's death, she had been snuck out of Shinjuku because they were going to kill her because, you can't have descendants. And coming back to take over things. And so she grows up and she decides to come back to Shinjuku and take it all back. But it's just herself. So, in trying to find allies to help her do this, she comes across this guy right here. And he's a special kind of stupid. He's very aware of his own stupidity, unlike Goku, who is stupid but doesn't seem to be aware of it and is more buffoonish than anything else. But there's a reason why I bring up Goku. Because this guy right here, that guy, wants to be, this is his life's dream, his life's goal is to be a manga protagonist. That's right. He wants to be a manga hero in real life. So he does all the tropes. Like, you literally get a listing of former manga anime heroes and how they got powerful. And Goku, of course, is one of them. And he does things like starts smacking at a rock with his fist over and over again for years until he grows into this super strong person, human being. So when she comes by, and of course he helps her out because he thinks that this is an innocent girl being attacked, she hires him, and he's happy about this because he's bored with his life, because he's realizing that even though he's super strong, nobody really cares about it because he keeps breaking stuff. And so they keep firing him. So finally he gets into the job where he gets to beat people up. So, like I said, he's a special kind of stupid, but at least he's aware of it. And so the first volume is basically the introduction of these two characters. You get the idea of, the plot of what's supposed to happen very quickly, and they start creating the team very quickly to take over Shinjuku. And that is basically the plot line. I like the art in this. I know this isn't probably going to translate very well, but I do like the art in this kind of stuff, and it's very engaging. I like how they are imaginative, like Shigeru Mizuki was with yokai, being just throwing whatever out there, whatever fits, whatever works. And so it's visually, it's very, very fun. But it is definitely shonen, and she in the story arc, she's at the point where I'm just using this guy to get to my own ends. But of course, we all know what's going to happen, and isn't it cute? Anyway, this is kind of interesting. Hulk, I was not, I can take it or leave it. I'll watch the anime first episode, see what's going on there. I do think this could make a good OVA. The story is just engaging enough. It's an interesting idea. Of course, I've always loved the idea of Yokai. Shigeru Mizuki is one of my favorite mangakas. And it's just kind of just got that nice little twist of just like kind of poking fun at the industry, manga industry, going with the kid going, I want to be a manga protagonist. Anyway, so I will probably, and again, this is only about 3 volumes as far as I understand. I think that's it. So I think I might actually just go ahead and do the series and see what comes of it. It's kind of interesting. Alright, so the last manga from the Manga Spice Cafe box is Shojin X, or Shojin 10, depending on how you look at it. That's a hell of a cover art, isn't it? That's pretty good stuff. There's a reason. Story and art by Sui Ishida. So, the guy who did Tokyo Ghoul did this. It is visually very pleasing. They spent a little money on it. They colorized the first few panels. Let's see if I can find some art in here that looks pretty cool. Oh yeah, here we go. Ooh, spooky. Okay, so that is actually the protagonist right there, by the way. So this is set in the future, near future, like 30 years in the future from now. Basically the world has no longer has nation states, but they have prefectures. And this is due to the appearance of the Chojin, who are superpowered human beings or demons, depending on how you look at it. And they tried to create their own nation state, and as a result, a war resulted, and so that's why things are the way they are. Except when you read the book, it just doesn't seem like things are fractured. It just seems like Tokyo, Japan. But anyway, so the premise is that 1 out of every 1,000 normal human beings has the potential to become a Chojin. So there is so Chojins can try to recruit these people to their own ends to create their own power base, and they can do so if they can kind of detect if a person has the capability of being a Chojin. So they approach them and they try to infect them with their power. And the person who becomes a Chojin can take on elements or adjacent powers to what the original Chojin had. So like if you were a fire Chojin and you got a disciple, that disciple might have like smoke or heat or something like that. Or maybe fire, just the same exact powers. It kind of depends. And there's different types of Chojins, things like that. There are bestial Chojins, like this guy, where you turn into an animal or a hybrid demon form animal kind of thing, like this guy. And that can be done also. You can be also turned into a Chojin if you happen to have the potential through an elixir administered by a syringe. So the premise of this is that this guy is friends with another normal human being who is known to be a really good guy, and they volunteer to do good things. And sometimes he's a hero. He beats up bad guys. He's kind of like a low-level Batman, if you know, without any powers or tools or anything. He's just a good guy. So that's the guy's friend. And this guy's, by the way, his name is Tokyo. And Tokyo is kind of like the wallflower, kind of like, I'm nobody. I'm just under this guy's shadow over here. I'll just do whatever he does. Literally, that's like you actually start to hate him after a while. But then he gains a Chojin power, and his friend doesn't. When they're fighting another Chojin, it's the only way they can beat the Chojin. And his best friend doesn't get it, but Tokyo does. And the rest of the volume is him being hunted down by other Chojin to try and figure out how they can use him, what his powers are. Can he make his own power base? Would he be part of their power base? Whatever. And the poor kid has no idea what he's doing. So there immediately you come across like 5 Chojin within like the first 10 pages of this thing. And he's having to cope with his powers looking like this and trying to figure out how he can change back to human, then change back into this, what his powers actually are. The interesting thing about this is that we have some of these characters becoming Chojin but deciding not to be evil, which is interesting. And we have a girl from the rural Styx who accidentally becomes Chojin, and that's her deal, and she wants to be a hero, so they're all looking for Tokyo. And that's basically thus far the story of this manga. Like I said, visually it's very interesting. The story is a little bit more complex. Again, definitely shonen. Right? Okay. I don't know if you saw that. We love safety. Anyway, it would not surprise me if this were to become an anime, if it hasn't already. So be on the lookout for this. It's still ongoing. It's got a few volumes to it. It's not a one-shot like this guy sometimes does with his Tokyo Ghoul series. So, yeah, check this out. This is another good one. All right, so that is it for the Manga Spice Cafe mangas. And we're going to go into the last thing here before we go into Genshin Diaries. And it's a comic book, not a manga, but it's a comic book about manga. So before we get into Igor's Japanese Notebooks, A Journey to the Empire of Signs, this lovely little thing, just wanted to throw out a word about libraries. I'm a big supporter of libraries, public libraries. I think they're very important. If you have a couple bucks to donate to your library, instead of having a meal at McDonald's, maybe use that money and throw it at your library so they can do things like show actual anime movies like they do at the Pratt Library here in Baltimore, or buy more manga to be loaned out for free, because that's the best thing about public libraries. They are free. You just have to get a library card and you're good to go. And one of the best things about libraries is that you can find little gems like these, and you can be just walking the shelves and they'll just jump out at you, or maybe you'll find something online and you wonder if it's at your library, and you wander the books, and just libraries are wonderful places. So anyway, that's where I found this. So I found this at the Enoch Pratt Free Library here in Baltimore. That's the main library. I used to work there once upon a time. And I saw this, and it was a very intriguing cover. And one of the things I noticed was this is not manga. Like, you can tell right away it's not manga. It's a comic book, but it has very Japanese things in there. And here we go. Here's the better interpretation. Things like that. So, a little note on Igor himself. Igor is actually, I think I'm saying his name right. It's spelled Igort. I can't imagine it's Igort. So I'm just going to say Igor. If I'm getting it wrong, I apologize. So anyway, he's an Italian comic book artist. He is, for our purposes, he's done a lot of different things, and he's critically well known. He's done a lot of stuff he was an illustrator for a long time for the New Yorker as well. He is an Italian comic book artist, and for our purposes here, I'll mention a couple of the things that he's really well known for. And in the 90s, he made a noir comic called Baobab, and that's really interesting, visually interesting stuff. He's got a very, very interesting style that is not in here very much. So if you happen to check out BYE, separate word, Baobab, Baobab. Check it out. There's a few different volumes of it, but definitely get the first one. It's kind of like Dune. You read the first one, you're like, oh my god, and it just launches you into the rest. The other thing that he is known for, actually, is that he had a certain level of success in Japan doing a manga for a weekly magazine called Yuri. So if you have a Japanese friend, you say, are you familiar with something from the 90s, kind of like almost a kid's manga called Yuri? like a cute little spaceman kind of thing. And if they say, "Oh my God, yes, I know that," that's this guy. So what happened was that he has lived in various different countries, and he's made a book on each country that he's lived in. Like he's lived in Russia, Ukraine, so he's done a Ukraine notebook, a Japanese or a Russian notebook. So this was his version of talking about when he lived in Japan in the early 90s. So from like off and on from 1990 to like early 2000s, and it is his kind of journey into writing manga and how he accidentally got into it and the people that he met and how it shaped how he views things, how he does things. And it's very interesting because he also brings in other elements of Japanese culture. Like he talks about Zen Buddhism, he talks about the shrine that's near his place, or he talks about very controversial people like Mishima, who was, for those of you who know your 1960s Japanese history, this is the guy that kidnapped a whole bunch of Japanese defense people, and when he didn't get away, he committed suicide by seppuku. Anyway, so he talks about this, and he talks about, integrating successfully and unsuccessfully into Japanese society, how he got into doing manga, which was apparently quite by accident. He was at a book fair, and he happened to be walking by a stall with Japanese manga, and he goes, wouldn't it be interesting if non-Japanese people came to Japan to do manga? And apparently the person at the stall said, "How did you know we were doing that? Like, it's supposed to be a secret. How did you know that?" And they brought him into the back and they said, "Well, rather than you blabbing about it, we're just going to go hire you." So that's how he got into Japan. And again, he talks about, see, look, I mean, this is just the back cover. Isn't that pretty? Sorry for the sirens. That's, I'm in Baltimore. So, yeah, and he tries to, in his art, look at that. That's just so, ugh. Oh yeah, and reproduction art. Ooh, sorry, getting sidetracked by this. So it's a almost non-linear kind of story, meaning that he doesn't really give you dates. He just kind of goes along. He talks about his interviews with Hayao Miyazaki, how he missed Takahara, and a whole bunch of and dealing with other manga writers and manga artists, and and that culture. Like there's like a whole chapter devoted how he flew into Japan one day to do a thing to write more Yuri content. Yuri the character, not the and how his boss kept coming to the hotel and said, "Okay, I need 16 pages tomorrow. A story in 16 pages tomorrow." And for several days in a row, and at the end of it, he's just like, But he talks about why that happens, what the culture behind that is, and just how things worked in the manga industry in 1990. So this is it's a comic, and it's very visual. And he does talk about Zen Buddhism. He talks about pop culture a lot. So this is just a really interesting dive from a foreigner's perspective into Japan's manga industry, and not even an American's idea or dive into it. But this is a guy from Italy, and he's doing the thing. Just to give you an idea, this particular trip really sort of focused on how he would do comics for the rest of his life. So there's a way, and a certain way that he goes about it, a certain almost Zen of manga making kind of thing going on that he's got. So yeah, I can't stop talking about this book. So anyway, go to your local library like I did, see if it's in there. See if you can get them to get it for you, or go into your local bookstore and see if you can get this and buy it, because it is actually worth it. The art, like I said, the art is very good. It's just so intriguing. And for those of you who kind of want a non-traditional view of how does manga work, get this. Do yourself a favor. Get this. Alright, welcome to the Genshin Diary portion of this video. So, I had rolled with my wishes and I had gotten Kaveh. So Kaveh is the architect, scholar, actually renowned architect of Sumeru, and also in poor, as in destitute, no money, roommate of Alhaitham. The two of them are kind of like an odd couple kind of thing going on there. So Kaveh's character is just that. He does architecture, but he doesn't really talk about it in gameplay. But he has certain abilities to do certain things and in a certain way. And I think that's how you need to approach the Kaveh character in terms of gameplay. Kaveh's character is not going to be overpowered like like the Shogun, Raiden Shogun. And it's not a character. I don't think he's a character that you can greatly improve upon and make really powerful like Dehya. I think he is there for specific purposes, for specific quests, and for the Sumeru lands. I think that's really what he's built for. And he is, of course, a Dendro character. And so he has various levels of talent, and I'll just go through these really quickly. So one of the ones is Art of Budgeting. You may go, okay, well, what's the deal with that? And the descriptor is that when Kaveh crafts landscape, building, and courtyard type furnishings, so like, you're making stuff for your Serenity Pot, he has 100% chance to refund a portion of the materials used. So that basically means that you're going to be discounting a lot of materials if you use him to build things in your Serenity Pot or in gameplay should that arise. A craftsman's curious conceptions. This is to pair up with the Painted Dome, which is your, I believe, your Q attack, and it just helps with your normal, your charged and plunging attacks. So when you do that during the Painted Dome effect, it just amplifies that. An Architect's Understanding. When damage dealt by Dendro Core, including damage from Burgeon and Hyperbloom, hits Kaveh will regain hit points equal to 300% of his elemental mastery. This effect can be triggered once every half a second. So basically what they're saying here is that, if a Dendro Core is hitting you or if one of Tighnari's bombs is going off, he can actually heal from that. So that kind of stuff doesn't affect him that badly as it would other characters. So let's go into the actual 3 attacks that you would normally use. Your normal attack, he has a Claymore. Faster than Noel, slower than Bido, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. Not the best Claymore user. They're actually very standard attacks, normal attacks. Nothing special about them. Your E attack, Artistic Ingenuity. This circle comes out and it maps it out. A radial scan that does AoE Dendro damage. It will also scan all Dendro cores in its area and cause them to immediately burst. So if you have a Tighnari character who lays a whole bunch of those bombs, he can go in there and with his E attack just activate them. So you can actually plan out your attacks that way. So the Q attack is the Painted Dome. Basically, everything that he can do is increased. His speed is increased, strength is increased, whatever he's using is increased. So for a very limited amount of time, we're talking like seconds. And it has to happen. You'll see a square kind of neon green thing pop up and then disappears. And you have to operate within that area, that limited area, to gain all these benefits. So this isn't something like you can just activate it and just be all over the map fighting people. You have to be in this specific area, very specific area. This is why I'm saying that Kaveh is probably a character that's going to be used for very specific reasons. I am still trying to figure out exactly like what claymore would be good for him. Haven't figured that out yet, and also the artifacts. Because I recognized immediately that he's kind of a weaker character, and his defenses aren't very strong at all. I tried putting those in there; they don't seem to be working very well. So I think he's just inherently a weak character, and it needs shielding that characters like Noel and Niguan can provide. So as we move forward with Kaveh, I'm sure there'll be moments where he shines. But as far as using him like in a regular squad, he's probably going to be like Mika, in which you probably don't want to. So whenever the specific reason arrives, you go, you know what, Kaveh might be good in this. That's when you bring him in. He's not going to be a permanent part of any squad that you have. So yeah, that's Kaveh. A little bit disappointing because he just doesn't do much for regular gameplay. So I'm just waiting for that moment where I can use him, and I'm sure he'll do really, really well. But until that moment comes, I probably won't be using him that much. Still going to get him up to 80. I'm at world level 45, so I'll be able to get him up to 80, and I'll still try to figure out what is good for him, artifacts and weapons wise. But I'm not counting on him like I would Dea as far as a Claymore user. So just to give you an idea, here's the video for that. And as always, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, guys, because I love you, and I want to see you at conventions. All right, enjoy the rest of the video.
Where's my key? Not again. Scanning. Hey, cut it out. Come at me. Breaking new ground. Scanning. Come at me. Come at me. Scanning. Sight clear. Scanning. at me. Yeah. Sight clear. Scanning. Ha. 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 Sight clear. Scanning. Come at me. Scanning. Come at me. Watch and learn. Scanning. Sight clear. Come at me. Scanning.